Hi, I'm Kate Gubelman, and Diana Bunting and I would like to welcome you to Merrillton, the house of Marcella McCormick. We're having an art show today for David Barnes and his students. David is a paintings teacher here in Newport, and he's been instrumental in having a lot of art students. We're going to take a look at their work, so welcome.
I've had David for many classes at Bristol Community College. I was actually completely terrified of drawing and any kind of two-dimensional design before I had David. I put it off until the very last minute that I could. But because of his calm, he's like fertilizer. You just start growing when he's around you.
So this room is going to be mostly students that I've taught at Bristol Community College, most of whom went on to other schools. But I'm still in touch with them, and they come back and see me from time to time and show me what they're up to. So these pieces up here, very good students that I had. They did not paint this with me, but shortly after they left me at Bristol Community College, they went on. The reason I included them is it does reflect on my aesthetic a little bit. I had a little bit of influence on them. So they claim, so they tell me. So this painter is very nice, John Langfeld. He's going to go on to other things, greatness, I'm sure, but it shows an expressionistic interpretation of the portrait, which is something that is near and dear to my heart. This, on the other hand, is a much more controlled, traditional kind of portrait. Also a student of mine at Bristol Community College who went on, and I believe they know each other and maybe went some of the same classes, but paint very differently, different interests. This one's on copper, this is on canvas, both very strong painters. And this is also a nice painting. A friend of mine, John Horton, also a sort of expressionistic use of paint. So a lot of the students that pass through my classes, I guess sort of I rub off on them a more expressionistic style of handling of paint and composition, and so that's what a lot of them show that influence.
Newport historically is something that's so interesting when you look back at the 18th and 19th century when people would travel to come here to paint and landscape.
Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah, way back in the day.
Yeah, no, I had John Lafarge and company. Yeah, it was a great time for Newport, and the interesting thing is a lot of the sites look the same, more or less the same. You know, you can go set up a situation where John Lafarge painted, you know, and look at almost identical composition.
Yeah.
So on that level, it's quite interesting. Tried to really kind of go back to the history of art and all the way back almost to like the early Renaissance and Giotto or someone like that, dealing with multi-figure compositions, a lot of people seen from different points of view, from the back, from the side, from the front, interacting. That was sort of the compositional theory behind it. And thematically, I was trying to find something that was a little bit more mysterious, less cut and dry. And it was based, the whole series of paintings were based on this event in India that happens every couple of years called Kumbh Mela, where all the various sadhus or holy men in India come down or come out from wherever they are in the mountains or the woods, and they all meet together in one city for a week or so. And so there's like this big progression of religious people, holy men, and they're all different. And there's a whole group of them called the sky-clad sadhus that are all pretty much spend their whole life being almost naked. So there's this big parade of naked guys coming through the city, which was kind of bizarre. So there's a lot actually video material to look at. And when I just happened to stumble across it on YouTube, of course, and it was just so interesting visually that I decided it would be a good subject to kind of explore. So that's what this is, and that's also what this painting is. And so the other two behind it. This little one sort of a study for the larger one, as is that. And this is more of a view from a distance, obviously. So from a painterly point of view, some of the things I was trying to do, I was trying to experiment more with the accident, a lot of more abstract techniques, incorporating the figure within that. So when you look closely, you can see there's a lot of drips, a lot of spilled paint, there's even a lot of spray paint, which I was using, and some stenciling, and then all sorts of stuff going on. So from a distance, it looks like maybe figurative work. That's not that unusual, but as you get up close, there's more levels to it. That's what was intended. Some artists have like their way, and everybody's supposed to paint the way the teacher paints, which to me is not the most subtle way to teach somebody, right? It'll work for a small minority of students who want to be just like their teacher. But for me, I'm more interested in the individual and what's going to come out of them if you push and prod them a little bit in different directions, challenge them to try different things. I think that's where the teacher can be the most helpful. So I see you doing something coloristically, which is interesting, and so I try to point that out to you and then kind of bring you along in that direction, you know. But then some other student painting the same scene of a figure in a landscape may be doing something entirely different with his or her work. So I always try to like see what the painting suggests to me, what the student's work suggests.
Well, I must say, I think it's amazing that we can all even have a conversation with each other when you have 8 people painting the same figure in the landscape, and there are 8 completely different results to it. I mean,
that's
it's
great,
so incredible. That must give you a lot of pleasure to see that difference.
It does. That's sort of like the thing that I like the most, is when you look around and everybody's work looks different, you know, and everybody, you can tell they're all individual painters who did it.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of the hallmark of my classes. It all come out with a wide variety of student work, and hopefully in the show that we're hanging, it'll reflect some of that wide variety, you know, all the way from the figure in the landscape of the Newport students to what I'm doing at community college with a whole different group of students.
Right, because how many students would you think you have on an ongoing basis?
Well, I'm usually teaching 3 classes at the community college, so that's like 60 kids, and then a couple things going on here, so that's a couple dozen more. A few private lessons, you know, you could be up to, you know, 75 students happening off and on during a semester, so that's a lot.
Wow.
I'm not teaching them all different things, but, you know, I'm teaching introduction to drawing, advanced painting, some two-dimensional design, so a lot of different subjects, different students, different needs. Work in this room is mostly going to be work from my students in Newport. They are figure and landscape painting classes. So I have a little mix of both here behind me, and it would be typical of the kind of student work that's being done largely in the summer and fall. This work, straight landscape, as is this. I just have these 2 here to show the variety of work that one might find. This is Diana's painting, much more expressionistic, coloristically. She's in the same class as Darcy, who's painting much more sort of naturalistic look to the painting. So they both have different problems within the landscape setting to solve, and both beautiful paintings in their own right. And then the other paintings up here are mostly figure in the landscape. And those are based more or less on figure in the environment. So one like this, very simple environment is just suggested with sort of a water sky kind of feeling with the figure, and beautiful color in the figure, and simple kind of modeling of form. And then something like this painting, quite interesting as a looks almost like a Gauguin kind of painting with a strong color. And so all these things are paintings that could happen in Newport in the summertime with the summer classes.
I embrace drawing and painting, and I came to school as a sculptor, and he completely changed what I thought that meant. So now I'm very interested in blending 2D and 3D, as you can see from my cutout Victorian ladies behind me. And also, he gives so much history when you're learning. We did an entire section on graffiti, and that changed my viewpoint of where art should be and what art should be. So this is just the beginning of something much bigger that is all thanks to David.